Nick Clegg today vowed to use the parliamentary votes demanded by the High Court to try and derail Britain's exit from the European Union. The former Liberal Democrat leader said the British people should get a say on the final deal on leaving the EU whenever it's finally completed. The government warned it would face down anti-democratic attempts to exploit yesterday's landmark court ruling. It means the British Parliament is poised to legislate on exactly when Britain starts the formal process of leaving the EU after senior judges shocked Westminster by ruling Theresa May could not act without specific authorization from MPs. Mrs. May today made a frantic round of calls to senior EU leaders, including German Chancellor Angela Merkel, EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker, and Council President Donald Tusk, assuring them her timetable was unchanged. Number 10 has insisted it believes it can overturn the High Court ruling at the Supreme Court and trigger Article 50, the divorce clause in the EU treaties, on time by the end of March. The constitutional crisis fueled calls today for Mrs. May to end debate over her powers by calling a snap general election, a poll she could expect to win comfortably as Labour under Jeremy Corbyn trails far behind the Conservatives. The government plans to appeal the High Court judgment next month at a rare hearing of all 11 Supreme Court justices. But if the ruling is upheld, Mrs. May will be forced to introduce legislation that will need to be agreed to by both the Commons and the Lords. In some circumstances, new laws can be passed in hours, but in practice, it's likely to take weeks and perhaps many months to complete. Among the assets were a Porsche 918 Spider valued at more than €750,000 and a Bugatti Veyron which sells for in excess of €2 million, according to the Le Hebdo news site. Obiang, who is 47, was promoted by his authoritarian father, Teodoro Obiang Nguema, in June to be vice president of the oil-rich West African nation. Obiang was already said to face trial in France next year on corruption and embezzlement charges, although he is not expected to appear in court. Obiang's excesses also forced him to forfeit more than $30 million in assets in the United States, where he owned a mansion in Malibu, California. In announcing the 2014 asset forfeiture deal, the U.S. Justice Department accused Obiang of relentless embezzlement and extortion. Washington said Obiang earned a government salary of £100,000 but amassed a fortune of $300 million through corruption and money laundering. Among the assets he was forced to give up was a crystal-encrusted glove from Michael Jackson's bad tour, for which he reportedly paid nearly $500,000. Obiang's father seized power in Equatorial Guinea in 1979, making him Africa's longest-serving ruler, just ahead of Zimbabwe's Robert Mugabe.